am Bridgette Raes, and I am going to be answering 20 style questions. All right, here we go. Question number 1. When it comes to fashion, what are the biggest mistakes women make? Number 1, they don't trust themselves. I think women know instinctively what works for them and what doesn't. And I would say the other is that women are afraid to wear shape. I think that a lot of women assume that wearing a shapeless box will, they'll hide out, no one will see. But if you wear a shapeless box, you just look like a shapeless box. Oh, question number 2. How long have you been a personal stylist? I have been a personal stylist for 17 years. That shocks even me. What styles do you consistently dislike? I consistently dislike Mary Jane shoes. I don't think that adults should wear Mary Janes, or people over 5 for that matter. I'm sorry, Mary Jane lovers. You can send me hate mail. I think I really hate jewel neck cardigans, because they don't work with so many necklines, so you think they're gonna be easy and you're just gonna throw them on, and they wind up like not working with majority of necklines. So I find they become really, really useless. Number 4, how would you describe your style? Oh, it's really modern and very classic. I'm definitely not a frilly person. I'm definitely not like a ruffly. I'm not girly at all. And I'd say it's like really classic and timeless, not traditional. I would also say that there's like a little dive bar thrown in there too. Got a little grit and a little edge and a little Brooklyn. So I would say like classic with a twist of dive bar. Question number 5. What period of fashion is your favorite? Gosh, that's so hard to nail down because I want to say like 40s, but then I'm like, oh, the 20s were cool too. And you know, the 30s often goes like overlooked, and there were some cool things about it too. And early 50s is amazing. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock, Edith Head. I mean, you just want to wear everything that Edith Head costumed in any Hitchcock films. It's like the 20s until like the late 60s, and then it just falls off. I do have to say I have a sweet spot in my heart for grunge. I was in college at the time, and it's very reminiscent to me. So 20s to late 60s plus grunge. Does that work? Question number 6. What do you love about being a stylist? What do you hate? The number 1 thing I love is that I make a difference and I get to help women empower themselves. And then I would say that my least favorite part is definitely achy feet. It is so tough on the feet. My feet hurt. Okay, question number 7. Weirdest request you have gotten from a client? So a client came to me. She and I are both like big documentary fans, and we were obsessed with the documentary Wild Wild Country on Netflix. So she texted me one day and said, I really want my style to be inspired by the documentary Wild Wild Country. And if you don't know this documentary, like Run, Don't Walk, it's insanely amazing. It's like crazy town. It's like basically about like a cult of people from India who set up a community in Oregon in the early 80s. And they were like this Indian ashrami cult, and they all wore the same colors. They all wore like shades of burgundy and purple, orange, pink, and maybe some red. Like that was it. Like everyone wore these colors. My client certainly didn't want to look like she was a cult member. She was very inspired by the color palette. At first I thought, she's just like, oh haha, like that'd be funny. And she starts like really getting serious, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't think I can do this. You know how many variables have to be in place? Number 1, designers have to be doing that color. Number 2, we have to find things that work for her style and her body and her budget. It would have to be like a perfect storm for all of these things to come together. So fortunately, I guess everyone watched that documentary because the colors were everywhere in the stores. And we did, like, it actually, while it was the weirdest request, it was probably the most fun I've ever had. And I'll share a link to the post of what we bought, but that was definitely the weirdest request. I'd like to look like the cult members in the documentary Wild Wild Country. What current shows do you think are kicking ass in fashion? I am drawn to shows that have fashion being like almost like an additional character. It may not be something I'd wear, but I'm like blown away by how the fashion is like an additional cast member. One of my favorites is FX Pose. Billy Porter, the way they style him is exceptional. I also really love Schitt's Creek. I think that the costuming, particularly of Moira Rose and David Rose, is I think it's pretty incredible. It's brilliant and it's funny. In some cases it's the character, like in the BBC series Killing Eve. I love the way they costume VNL. I love the way they costume her. There's something so off-putting about the way they style her that, you know, because she's a psychopath. Her wardrobe choices kind of create an unsettling energy too. I think that's really incredible, and how the power of costuming. And I like the show Harlots, period piece. I think that they capture the period, but they do it in an over-the-top way, and the colors are great. I love June Diane, Raphael, and Grace and Frankie. I definitely find inspiration from the way they style her. I just usually love 99% of the things that she wears. So, you know, there's nothing like outrageous about what she wears. It's just definitely my style. How did you learn to knit? So yes, I knit a lot. I learned to knit in this weird way. I'm self-taught, but I started out when I was a fashion designer. I used to design sweaters, and I had no idea how to knit. I didn't really learn much about knitwear in school. I really loved designing knitwear, and I learned on the job. But that doesn't necessarily mean like designing knits and knitting are two really different things. So, but I was curious about it, so I tried to teach myself when I was in my 20s, and this was before YouTube. So, and I'm left-handed, so lefties who knit lefty knit the opposite direction. We knit kind of backwards. And it was way too confusing, and I'm a visual learner, and I was trying to read instructions, so it like fell by the wayside. In my 30s, I tried again, and I got a little bit farther, like maybe like a hammock for Barbie. A couple of years ago, I was going through a particularly tense time, and it was also right after the election, and everyone's just fighting, and I stayed off social media. I used to follow, or I still follow, Kristen Ritter, Jessica Jones, and she knits, and always looked so happy. And I thought, all right, I have these knitting needles and some yarn. Let me try this again. And of course, by now there are gazillions of knitting tutorials, even for lefties, on YouTube. And I started, and I've not stopped since. And now I can knit sweaters, and I knit like crazy things now. Now I'm like challenging myself with these crazy projects. So yeah, you can learn yourself. You know, I mean, I learned literally watching YouTube videos. What are some staples that women are told they should own that you don't, and what are your staples? I hate the idea of staples. I just don't think we should reduce any woman down to the idea that she should have a set amount of staples, like every woman's the same. I think that's just complete crap. What I don't own personally is I don't own a black dress. I don't own pearls. Black pumps, I don't own a pair of black pumps. I don't own a white button-down shirt. Don't own black pants, and I don't own any pencil skirts. And those are a lot of things people are told they're supposed to own. What my staples are, right? A navy blazer, beige or tan pumps, cognac boots, always jeans, obviously. I mean, who doesn't have jeans? And a denim jacket. Okay, this is a non-fashion related question. Name 3 things that are widely loved in general that you aren't a fan of. I don't like musicals, I don't like birthday cake, and I don't like baseball. You're gonna eat dessert, make it worth something than, like, you know, a birthday cake. Have you ever told someone they need a makeover? Yes, I have, and I don't recommend this. I have a policy now, never tell someone they need a makeover. Like, I could have a disaster standing in front of me and I won't say a word. I told one person they needed a makeover one time. Their brand and how they express themselves professionally wasn't lined up with their accomplishments. And I said something I really did mean well. Got an email back, and I could tell that person was deeply, deeply offended. I don't tell people they need makeovers, and I don't recommend you do either. What did you wear your first day of kindergarten? I actually remember this. I wore this, oh my God, I loved it so much. A shirt dress, and it was like short sleeves, and the collar and the cuffs of the short sleeves were white, and then it had like the skirt part of the dress was plaid, and there was this little apple like on the breast here, right on the chest, and the apple was plaid as the same as the skirt. What scent do you wear? I wear Hermes Eau de Merveille, and I love it, and I can't smell it anymore because I am long immune to it. Okay, another non-fashion question. What do you order? What do you order at a bar? I order probably either Prosecco or bourbon, straight or on the rocks. Like you don't even need to put anything in there. Don't give me a glass of wine. Why don't you wear black? There's become such like, it's amazing to me that people ask me this question. Not that big of a deal. I don't wear black because I don't look good in black. Does anyone wear colors that look bad on them? It's amazing. Like people, when I say, I don't wear black, they're like, oh my, what? Like they're literally like in shock. You know what bugs me more is not so much that people are shocked that I don't wear black, that people assume that I don't like it. Like that, I put people in black all the time. I put clients in black all the time. I love it for people where it looks good. I think when it's done purposefully, it's great. It makes sense. I think that what does bug me is when people just knee-jerk black. They see a bunch of shoes and they go, well, I'll buy the black pair, of course. Or they have to buy a new coat and they're like, well, they don't think about it. Like they're on autopilot. Like, well, of course I'll buy the black. And people become really afraid to try other colors. So like if that's your black thing, like, branch out. But if like black's your thing, wear black. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't wear it. Interesting. Okay. Has anyone ever told you that you need a makeover? Yes. It did happen to me once. I was probably like 20. I was probably like 22. I was with a friend. We were visiting her family in the South. I'm from the Northeast. We were young, so who knows if my makeup looked bad. It probably did. I remember these two women who were older saying to me that I needed a makeover with my makeup, and they told me to go get glamour shots. What I remember was being completely offended. I was so offended, and I was like, I just felt really exposed. And I think that's probably why I don't tell people they need a makeover. You just feel so vulnerable. It never feels good. I don't care who you are. Being told it never feels good. I think people are expecting me to have a different answer to this one. What hashtags do you follow on Instagram? 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. Knitting. I follow the hashtag baby goats, and I follow the hashtag tugboats. I love tugboats. I'm obsessed with tugboats. They're adorable, and I think they're these mighty little boats that pull like huge ships, and I just think they're cute, and I would like totally love to take a ride in a tugboat one day. Last question. What do you feel your strengths as a stylist are? I feel like you'd have to ask my clients that question if I have to answer it. I would say color. I think my ability to combine color, I just think has more been an instinctive skill as I'm sitting here wearing navy and gray. I know. I think my area of expertise as a stylist has always been with the executive, corporate, a professional job in an office environment up to like C-suite, which is sort of funny because I've never worked in a corporate office. So I think my last strength as a stylist would be empathy. Stylists don't realize that it's a huge part of the job, and that you have to be able to listen and hear people and make sure they feel heard and validated, not judged. For people in fashion, we don't realize that this can be very vulnerable for people. And that also, by the time that many women call a stylist or call for help, that they've exhausted all the other options. So they're really frustrated and they're really down on themselves and they really believe they're the only ones. So yeah, I would say empathy, and I think I'm pretty good at it. Well, this is Bridgette Raes, and this has been 20 Questions.